Welcome to Always Almost There evening edition, first one of Europe tour.
After dark.
This is amazing. I'm so excited to be here. Jive, Kevin, first time the three of us have been on a pod together. So even more amazing. I mean, there's just so much awesome stuff to talk about. I'm absolutely thrilled.
It's an historic night on the pod.
It is a historic night in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Very happy to be here with y'all, and not necessarily with he who should not be named.
That's close enough. Yeah, man. I mean, Europe tour is kicking off. We have a different sounding band, so there's a lot to talk about where that is coming from. We're in smaller venues. We have different instruments. We're
different guitars.
We have different guitars. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of amazing stuff going on. So
different languages.
Different languages.
Attempts at speaking different languages.
Different poster artists.
Different things that you call college.
Some call it university. Some people call it college. In any case. So I don't know, guys. Should we dive right into these shows or?
Yeah. I mean, Europe tour. I mean, this is awesome. Yeah, it's funny to be even talking about this. So let's jump in. We'll just go ahead.
I was going to say it's exciting. You're a veteran of Europe tours, so we have a resident expert here. Not on Goose Europe tours, but Europe tours. So, I mean, you have inside knowledge. You've been to these cities. So it's almost like you were there, but you were just there a really, really, really long time ago.
I mean, so it's hard not to think back. I did the '97 winter tour, and it's hard not to reminisce, like seeing Goose over the night. I really wish I could have made it over and caught Goose in some of the same cities that I saw Fish in. I mean, that would have been amazing. But having the opportunity to stream, I mean, most shows and having the opportunity to hear everything so quickly and then chat with you guys about it. I mean, it's even not being there. This is still a super cool thing that's happening. So, yeah.
Yeah, Europe in general, just like a historic place, architecture, food, all of that stuff, the history that is there, and
so much history.
And then to be able to have Goose have that as their backdrop to play these shows, to gain some new fans, is awesome.
To be honest with you, it's been more fun for me watching all the people we know post like pictures and videos of walking around these places in Europe. Maybe not more fun, but as fun as watching these shows. It's just, man, it's so cool. I'm so jealous of those folks. So if you're over there, well, you're probably sleeping right now, but like Ryan is. Oh,
yeah. But when you wake up and watch this, first thing in the morning,
yeah,
we're just, you're not going to do that, but he who shall not be named will probably do that.
All right, then. So shall we jump into the set? Jive, do you want to lead us into Paris? Or?
He's watching now.
Okay. Yeah. So due to technical difficulties, we didn't get the stream of the Paris show, so we're gonna kind of roll that in tonight as well. Get through Paris and Cologne. So yeah, Paris. I mean, kicking off the tour, and coming right out with me and my uncle, which was probably super unexpected by most people. First time played since the very beginning of 2022. So it's been a minute since they played this one. They used to play it a lot. Actually was the opening song at my first Goose show, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, Kev and
also Kev's.
Both. Yeah, yep, that's right. And so yeah, cool kind of way to open it up, I thought. You know what I mean? Like coming out and you do feel like with the Europe kind of with the locals, I think in this day and age, a lot of these folks are hearing Goose because of the accessibility online and all those types of things. But yeah, you got to feel like there's definitely some kind of flow through for a lot of these folks, whether it's, Fish and the Dead and those types of things. So I thought that was kind of cool actually to open up with me and my uncle. And then All I Need, then boom, we just drop into, you know, really an incredible version of All I Need. And, you know, I just love this, you know what I mean? And this reminds me a lot of like Cap Night 1, you know, which in a lot of ways was kind of the first show of the year. And they just come out firing with jams, you know? And so, you know, Drive, you know, in that case, but then later the, you know, the Earthling and then the All I Need. But I man, this is one of those things too, where, and I'm not trying to go on too long about this, but this is one where like right after it's like, oh yeah, of course you're going to drop into All I Need, like song 2 in Europe. Like it makes perfect sense. You know, it's what they do at kind of, you know, big shows. And, you know, it's one of their biggest jammers. It's one of the jammers that I think they feel probably the most comfortable with. And so anyway, just real quick on this All I Need, they come out right away into a really cool, you know, kind of first initial jam section. And it quickly gets real, like, you know, it's blissy and it's triumphant. You know, this is a triumphant jam. And then we go into a little bit of a clav jam once that big triumphant jam ends. And that, I don't want to cut that jam short, but I think, Neil, you're probably going to want to talk about it as well. Yep. And then into a nice clav jam, and then into you know, nice kind of blues, kind of piano driven, you know, blues rock kind of jam to end it out. But yeah, really big All I Need. And then just real quick, the rest of the set: Misdirection, The Whales, Turbulence, and then a Drive, Bob Dunn Drive sandwich. So overall, I thought this was a really, really strong set to come out and drop on night 1 of this Europe too. I was maybe a little surprised at how good this was. I thought this was a phenomenal set.
Yeah, I mean, I really wish we had an opportunity to hear it in the moment, because I think we would have been losing our minds, because this All I Need is very, very good. And it's not just, you know, it was a good jam and a show and we got excited about it. Like this one holds up. And it's got, in my mind, it kind of has 3 distinct segments to it. It has that initial bliss segment, which is, it's better in a lot of ways than the kind of typical bliss that we've been getting. They've been inserting kind of bliss jams into Elizabeth quite a bit. And, you know, it shows up in Lead the Way and all these kinds of things. But this particular jam is like on the edge of blissy, but like, I don't know, it's like something more than that. And I think it just had a lot of depth. So that was really cool. And then they drop into the clav jam, which was awesome, but brief. That really crunchy clav jam. And then they finish it out, which I guess is a continuation of that clav jam that they dropped into with Peter on piano. And the whole thing just rips. It's this awesome driving jam. So, I mean, that was great. It really was an amazing way to kind of introduce improv to this Europe tour. We had wondered, right? We talked about it on the tour recap. What was going to happen when they got to Europe? Were they going to go out there and try to win fans by playing lots of songs and playing stuff that I guess would like excite people who weren't familiar with the band's music? Or would they go out there and really hit people with improv? And here we are, night 1, we're hitting people with improv. I think you get that in the All I Need. You also see it in the Bob Don Drive sandwich, which, you know, not the jammiest drive there ever was, but still is pretty darn good. And in terms of like the jams of the show, I don't think Drive actually is up there in the category with like, I guess 3 of the other jams that were played, but it was still really good. So yeah, I mean, there's jamming in this first set. Me and My Uncle was cool, you know, a nod to the Grateful Dead when you go to Europe. I think we probably should have seen that one coming, but yeah, cool stuff.
And all things considered, the band themselves had to battle through some adversity, right? They had a flight cancellation, had to hop a train. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, I did hear that. Yeah,
prior to the show, so
there was a cyclone.
Their backs were a little against the wall.
Well, I did actually hear a little bit that you guys might not have heard yet. So Malone ended up getting them to the venue
again.
Yeah. So I mean, it was amazing and such a coincidence, but yeah, just the dude saves the day.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, well, he has all-terrain vehicles. Really, he's a guy you can count
On multiple continents.
Okay, so thank you, Neil, for hopping onto those comments, because he didn't
I got
give
this.
me the level. I don't have the level of permissions to show comments, but I guess I don't know. He usually does it though, so I'm glad you're on that. I was going to tell you there's some really good ones coming through.
Yeah, you're going to get some feedback in the official forum there, Neil, when you get your review.
Hey, I can accept that feedback. I'm okay with that.
Hey, feedback is a gift. That's what I've learned in the corporate world. That usually means they're going to tell you something shitty.
It's the old compliment sandwich.
But okay, I digress. Kev, anything else on set one?
Nah, we go, baby.
Okay, cool. Let's do this. Set two, Matavan coming out, opening up set two with, which, yeah, I was kind of thinking I actually had Drive and Matavan both up pretty high in my picks. So I was pretty psyched for that. I just think, just back to Drive real quick, sorry, but I feel like Drive it's one of Goose's best songs. I mean, in terms of live jammers, I mean, All I Need is phenomenal. I think Drive's right up there too. I mean, it's such a classic song, and it's just the energy, and I mean, it's so danceable, and it's such a great song. So, but anyway, set two. So Matavan, and then Redbird, A Western Sun, and Empress to close it out. No encore. So, I mean, just first of all, on this Matavan, it's really good. There's a really good jam here. It's a super patient, kind of laid back, almost maybe ambient a little bit, jam. It almost at times sounds like a slowed down version of some of the kind of Middle Eastern, maybe Indian type grooves that they'll get into. Almost sounds like a really slowed down version of some of that. And then, obviously they pick it up like they usually do, fire through the ending. For me, the set's all about this Redbird. I think that the Redbird and the All I Need are both incredible jams coming out of this show. This Redbird is, it's very much just a kind of lock into a groove type jam, and then just keep, just churning through it and building it, and subtle changes as it kind of grows and builds. And, ultimately they kind of finish that off and they break it down a little bit. And I know time was an issue with this set for sure, because we ended up with like a 65-minute set, no encore. And so the one thing about the thing about this Redbird is I think it's really, really good. And I love it. It might be my jam of the night, just ahead of the All I Need. But I feel like they cut it short a little bit. They didn't quite give it the big finish that, maybe you'd like to see, like Louisville and Warfield. But yeah, I just wonder if maybe they were like, oh man, this Matavan was pretty lengthy, and this Redbird's getting around 20 minutes, I feel like they were up against the wall time wise, and they had to still try to get through a couple more songs. And then even the Empress is only like 12 minutes. So they were really crunched for time. I would have liked to maybe have seen what could have happened with that Redbird. But otherwise, for the time they gave, this is a nice little set. I mean, 2 big jams and
4-song second set.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So yeah, I'll hand it over to you guys.
Yeah, well, you hit on a pretty important point, which is this band has been up against time the whole entire time they've been in Europe, right? Like they have to get on and off the stage. We're going to talk about this other show, but we had a really short set break here because the band wanted to do as much music as they could. So I think you're right. I think after they played that Matavan, they were like, shit, like we got to be careful. And you get less of the Redbird. And I think there's a few jams so far on this tour where they kind of do cut them short because I think they're worried about time. And historically, this band has had trouble with time management,
Yeah,
and
but they only
everybody
worry
knows
about
that.
time on one continent. They don't worry about time in America.
Yeah. But yeah, so you get a really, really good Madavon here. I think it gets really weird for a bit. I think you get actually a very familiar jam. It dances on the edge of, and I meant to like kind of find what this jam was today, but if you kind of listen to I think it's like the Cleveland All I Need, but I could be wrong. But very, very similar jam in there where Rick kind of dances around this little like blissy theme. So that was cool. Really enjoyed that. And then yes, the Redbird. This Redbird we've been talking a lot about Redbirds because they're all so
They're all
damn
fucking
good.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this one is just better, I think, than the last few we've heard, even though we've kind of held a lot of those in high regard, right? Like you think back to Fort Collins, you think about the Wiltern, those are all awesome. This one is very, very, very good. So the notable thing about all of this is that like they're going out there and they're jamming, right? This was the thing that we were worried about. What was going to happen when they got there? And like they are absolutely jamming. And then also interesting thing to note here is Peter is operating at a fraction of his keyboards right now. So he has no organ, he has no vintage vibe. So he's pulling all of that stuff into a Nord, as far as I understand it. And sounds pretty awesome to me.
Also in very tight spaces. Like if you were watching, I know you guys were watching today, like how much of a confined space. Somebody made a comment, and I know we're not there yet, but like, is every show going to get played at the Mousetrap in Europe?
Yeah.
And just commenting on the size of the stage, but he's operating in a much reduced space in addition to not having his usual repertoire since we were in France of instruments that he normally plays.
Yeah, I think now is a good time to talk about this, right? So we got through that Redbird without the vintage vibe. There's also kind of throughout so far these first two shows, Peter without the Hammond, which is a big deal. It's a very big deal that he doesn't have that actual instrument. Obviously, they can't tour with that in Europe. It would be way too difficult for them to move that around. But it sounds good and different. We talked about this a bit before we recorded today about like Peter kind of playing these I guess, authentic instruments up there on stage and like what it sounds like. And you would think like, well, if it's not the real thing, it's not going to sound as good, but it's kind of offered a really refreshing sound to the band. It's like just different. And I think I listened to this band enough where just hearing like a different take on it is actually exciting for me. So like you get the Nord organ sound, you get the Nord Rhodes sound, and they sound, I don't know, they just sound cool. And I've been enjoying it so far. I don't know, maybe that wears off over time, but it is pretty cool stuff.
Again, just like comfort zone, not being in your traditional space in terms of setup on the stage, not having your traditional arsenal of instruments to play, in making do with what you have and still producing a pretty solid sound out of that experience, I think is awesome. And just being able to roll with those changes and those punches and those challenges that come with touring on a different continent.
Professionals, just
Absolutely.
So let me ask you guys a question.
Just
so we had talked a lot at the end of 2022 about like what happens when Goose goes into an arena. Like, is their sound going to translate to an arena? And I think, we've seen all the things that have happened. They've since played in very large places like SPAC. They have translated the sound pretty damn well. So what is your opinion on what they sound like now that they're coming back into, we're like back in 2019 here in terms of venue size? How do you feel about the change in their sound doing that?
Well, so one of the things that I honestly, so far, I haven't noticed a huge change. And maybe I'm just not listening closely enough or don't have the expert ear, but we did talk about this a little bit. And so I thought about it when we talked about it. And my thought was that, we've seen this a little bit before where they'll go to some bigger venues and they'll go back into some smaller venues, even like pre-arena, right? And I think even in some of those shows, we used to talk about this a lot, where you make the move, and part of it is that you're spread out on stage a little bit more, and then you come back together, and it's you just from having some conversations as well, like it's different for them. You know what I mean? It's a different vibe. You can have in-ears or whatever, but there's a big fucking difference between standing, 4 feet from the drums, or 12 feet from the drums. And so I always kind of felt like they were able to, I don't know, kind of hear each other just that much better. And that they kind of would go back to some of their maybe old school, like playing styles of, just really kind of building and flowing together. So anyway, I mean, they do that anyway now because again, they're professionals, but I did kind of wonder what we'd see. I haven't heard a ton, different yet, to be honest, but I think it's more to your point, Neil, of like, this is, especially with Peter, I mean, there is different gear, and even some of that is well hidden, by the way. I don't think, I think maybe a lot of people might not even know that just listening to the music, right? Because he's getting the sounds that he's after. It just might be maybe when you were saying like authentic or whatever, it might not be the exact same, but it's close. It sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, you think back to when they played the Hammond for the first time, which I think was 48-48. And Rick, they had an interview with Rick, and Rick was like, nothing beats the real instrument. And I agree with that to some degree, but I actually think whatever Peter has done in advance of this tour, he's thought about it, and he has a very, very workable situation. So, I mean, it's exciting. And, I don't know how much of the other stuff is backlined. We really haven't gotten that intel from folks over in Europe, but I'm sure Rick is operating with a very, very different amp, or maybe he's not. It's hard to say. But I
think the point was really kind of set off for me today in Cologne when Jag went to hand a beer to Rick, and Rick didn't have like enough space to move close enough, so he just like leaned over and grabbed it from him. Like, that's how close they were.
So should we talk about Cologne, because folks are chomping at the bit here?
Yeah. Speaking of Cologne, yeah.
Speaking of Cologne,
is that how you pronounce it? I haven't been really positive on that.
I believe it's Cologne.
Cologne, yeah. Well, there's like the spelling of the folks over there, which is just Koln.
Cologne.
Right on. So you've been there. So
I'm going with
relying
Cologne.
on you.
I don't know. I'm making that up. I've been there, but I don't think I said it.
All right. So today's show, which this is the first time we're ever doing this, talking about a show the day it has actually happened. We have an Atlas Dogs opener into an incredibly unique Jive 1 that confused the hell out of me. I was
all of us
that list. We were like, this is Jive 1. And then we're like, oh, hold on a second. This isn't Jive 1. This is Jive Lee, because they're just straight up going right into the jam. And then it ended up being Jive 1.
Thought it was Butter Rum for a minute. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, who the hell knows? So then you get a Butterflies. You get an incredibly slow Rockdale, which we will talk about. Well, shoot, I'll just talk about it now. There was so much space in between the beats in this Rockdale. It almost made me feel like I was like unbalanced, or like, I don't know, about to tip over, where I was just like waiting for that like next hit. And I don't know, it was something. I actually really enjoyed this Rockdale. I thought it was really cool. And then you get jam highlight of the set. Well, maybe it's not the jam highlight of the set, but this Echo of a Rose went to a pretty cool space where it kind of dips down into a space that you don't really typically expect from Echo of a Rose. I mean, this is the kind of song that can do anything at any given moment. I think out of all the songs in Goose's catalog, this is the one that's the most unpredictable. And this one does something that's actually like pretty different than what Echo of a Rose typically does.
Hits upon a certain melodic riff, does it?
Yeah, it does that. It does that. And then set finishes off with a Born into Ye Old Born jam, which I love seeing this back. So we get the 2001 jam, where, I mean, some folks were insisting that they were absolutely playing 2001. I think if you're looking for Born with 2001 jams in it, you can find more 2001 Born jams. But this was pretty cool, and then it eventually weaves itself into Tomorrow Never Knows, which was pretty good. I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah. So I had this on at the courts today, actually. So, if anybody wants to hear about that. But no, the cool thing was they must have we got a better signal up here recently, because I would be at the courts, last year, let's say, and it's one. Yeah, I'm lucky to have one bar. So I'm able to stream a show live now from the courts, which is a huge deal.
But it's not strong enough to pull.
So
it's not strong enough to pull a poster.
I wasn't able to pull the print, and that might have been other issues. But so anyway, I was I'm at the courts. I'm listening to the show, and yeah, I mean, this Echo Jam was definitely what kind of caught my attention. And otherwise a great set. I haven't gone back and re-listened to everything yet. I've just picked out a couple of these jams. But yeah, I really like this Echo. And yeah, the Born really stood out to me as well. Really cool. You said everything, Neil. I mean, just I love the classic Born jam, and then Tomorrow Never Knows. So yeah, really, I think this might be a really cool kind of theme that they've started with Me and My Uncle in Paris, and Tomorrow Never. These are, when you look at their body of work covers wise, I mean, even though it's Beatles and the Grateful Dead, I get it, but there is a little bit of a theme here. So I'm actually excited to see what covers continue to come out, and hopefully we'll get some more, and maybe even a nod to Fish at some point. I think that would be also pretty cool. But anyway, really enjoyed this set. I thought it was didn't quite have the level of jams as we saw in Paris, but strong set one. I'm sure everybody had a good time.
Yeah, it's important as we go around and talk about this show, there needs to be acknowledgement. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see all the comments, but one that jumped out at me was the need to acknowledge the shirtless Jeb.
Oh yeah,
and the energy that seemed to bring to all the band members. Even Trevor at one point, I believe, after set, took his jacket off. That's how hot it got on the stage there.
Oh man, it's funny that you bring that up. If you saw Ben's Instagram after the show, he was like, "How hot was it in the venue?" And he takes his shirt. He's like leaning out of the back door of the venue, and he like wrings out his shirt. It is an impressive amount of sweat. I don't think I've ever sweat that much in my life. I mean,
so you referring to Ben's sweaty shirt as impressive? That's a nod to Ryan, I feel like.
All right. But it was impressive. Oh man. I wasn't expecting that to hit as well when it happened, but it's good. Yeah, so looks like it was hot in that venue, and then Jeb was just going in. I'm gonna rip this shirt off and just go hard. And he also did a good amount of the stand-up gong work without the shirt off. So good on him for having that confidence.
And he's been
getting out there everybody.
I know he's been working out a lot, and I think he's proud of himself.
Has he?
We should all be proud of anybody that puts that kind of work in. So
yeah, see, there are folks out there. It's wild. You should go check it out. In any case, nobody to talk with Set Break Vibes about the show, so we're gonna just dive right into the actual set list. So we have a Into the Mist opener, which oh shit,
unfinished.
Yeah, it's really tragic. And then you get
we'll talk about that
hot Mosquenada, and I'm glad that I'm the one who gets to read this off because I generally love Muscanetta. And then this one, oh man, I mean, this in terms of Muscanatas, this might be the goat.
Goat, butterfly meme.
I don't know, maybe,
Yeah.
or maybe
Yeah.
we shouldn't be talking
It
about
is.
that at all when we talk about covers. But I mean, this one always hits. I think in this particular situation, it hits especially well because
It kept going, man. It kept going. I thought it was going to end like 5 different times, and it just kept going.
Well, they're leading into the improv, and this is my favorite kind of Goose improv, where it is just chaotic and weird, but everybody is
screaming.
Yeah. I mean, holy shit,
maniacal laughing.
You know, like I'm reminded of like other jams that I think are in the similar vein from this year. When you think about like the Boston Redbird, or you think about the Ryman Rosewood, they all go to this really weird space for just a few brief moments. And I keep bringing this up when we do podcasts because they're so damn cool. And this is another one that goes into that bag of songs that have really just bizarre yet impressive improv.
I would just throw it out there that I would love if they would spend like an extended amount of time, like 5 minutes maybe, exploring like those types of weird maniacal laughing off key, you know, out of song structure spaces. And they do it a lot in a lot of different songs, but that particular sort of style is really cool to hear.
Portland Echo, right?
Yeah.
Like you think back to 2022, they leaned into that. There's no reason they can't do that again. Like, just do it, man. Scare the shit out of us. Like, it's great. So you get that Muscanetta, and then you get an actually pretty nice hot tea jam there. I think a lot of us, we've talked about this on the pod a bunch, maybe don't want to see hot tea in that slot, but
they did not encore that shit.
They did not encore that shit. And then you get a Your Ocean, which, I mean, first one in a while. Actually, I don't know when the last time they played it was, but it was a while ago. And then the set closes out with Arrow. Again, no encore because there's a fucking disco coming in, and like there's no stopping that train in Germany. So, you know, it was nice that they didn't do something like tongue in cheek and like play Disco Inferno, because that would have been
very
awful.
happy. Yeah, a lot of us are very happy they didn't do tongue in cheek.
Yeah. So all in all, actually, this works out to be a pretty great set. I think it pales in comparison to what they did in Paris, but you know, nicely constructed set. We talked with Ryan before we recorded this. We didn't allow him to come on the show today.
We consulted with colleagues prior to live.
Yeah, we consulted with colleagues.
Yeah, boss man.
But this, from what we've heard from people inside the venue, was an incredibly fun show. So it sounded good.
Hey, listen, this Masquerade is it's really good, and it I wish it would have done one of two things: either keep going, you know, when it was getting crazy, or return to miss and finish miss. I think that's the other thing that it could have done. But yeah, that's a nice little 1-2, you know. Miss Nada, I like that. I liked it a lot. And then you know, we got the big arrow. You know, we got maybe a little bit of a short set again, and then no encore. So, you know, I guess we'll see. Maybe in Amsterdam they'll save some time to do a proper encore. But yeah, I mean, you know, like you said, you know, Paris is definitely where it's at. You know, improv wise, and maybe I feel like energy wise and flow wise as well, out of these first two shows. And you know, we've got Amsterdam coming up. So you know, I certainly do believe that, you know, one set list was a show forward, you know, when they were coming up to what to play in Cologne, you know what I mean? So not quite the Flagstaff of Europe, but yeah, you know, they're setting it up. Amsterdam is going to be, you know, just off the charts. I feel like really looking forward to that. And just one quick aside there, I mean, I think that's great tour planning. I think having a couple days off, and a lot of these cities are great cities, but I feel like Amsterdam, from a jam band European tour, angle, but also just in terms of the history of the museums, the everything that you have there. Yeah, it's a
The
great place to spend a
canals.
couple days.
Yeah.
Yeah, great place to spend a couple days between shows. So yeah, I am jealous of the folks over there for that.
Yeah, and also they have Garrett, who has done an impressive amount of research. Have you seen the thing that he's put together? He has
Is
put
it a
together
spreadsheet?
a book. No, it's like a legit, like you can sell it.
Okay.
It's incredible. But it has like every single stop of their trip is planned out. It has like translations of like common phrases, like in like 7 different languages. It's like, hey man, do you have any weed? Which is like really amazing. But yeah, and then like also like what time their train is leaving and like all this other stuff. I mean, he's done an amazing job. So, you know, he's done the folks over there are in good hands. There's only a small amount of people that are traveling between shows. So, lean on Garrett for intel on getting around. But there's so much amazing stuff to do in between these shows. I mean, what an incredible opportunity it is for folks that are going. I mean, you stop and like, Happy was like sending us messages today of just like, just look at this fucking thing. It's just incredible in front of, I don't know what that church is called in Cologne, but whatever that is, that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of that church either, but I remember hanging out at that church when Fish played in Cologne, and I feel like people told me at the time too. Just side fact, that church has been basically under a constant state of construction for like I don't know, what is it, like 700 years or something? I mean, it's something ridiculous.
It's a cathedral style
And
church, so it's definitely at least 500 years old, somewhere in that area.
yeah,
There you go.
1300s would put us back in the Renaissance, and I'm not sure if it goes back that far, but this is not an architecture podcast, so
This guy's just dropping knowledge. Well,
I wasn't prepared.
You weren't aware of his day job, were you? Absolutely incredible. Well, I think that brings us to the end of wrapping up these 2 shows. Anything else you guys want to add about what happened in Cologne? Or, I mean, Jive, like, now's your chance, man. If you want to talk about anything, like,
well, I do think we don't want to, we do like to give a little bit of a fancy goose, commentary. And I think we do need a slight update because we do now have officially a Europe tour, I think / Goose Mess Fantasy Goose competition. So yeah, get your picks in. I mean, not everybody gets their picks in every day.
How did this last tour turn out, B?
Oh, fall tour?
For Fantasy Goose, yeah.
Oh yeah.
No one cares.
So we did have our first ever 4-time champion crowned.
Who was it?
Now that it happened to be me.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Thank you so much. Thank you both. But yeah, it's a wrap. It's officially a wrap. We didn't know what was going on. You know what I mean? We thought maybe they're going to pull this European tour in, and that'd have been cool too. But yeah, get out there and play some Fantasy Goose. Get your picks in every day. It's a little bit, you got to remember, you got to do it in the morning now. You got to do the night before. You don't have the late afternoon deadline like you used to. So get out there, get involved, and yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, I see a lot of familiar faces up at the top of the leaderboard already. So what's up, Wesley?
There's a guy. So to answer Ryan Molnar's question, no, man. No. You just drink the Modelo. You don't need a lime.
Yeah. It's a drink, not a meal.
Yeah, Jesus. It doesn't need fruit. It's not a dessert.
In Modelo, if he wanted that, he would buy the Modelo that has lime and salt flavor added to it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. In any case, I digress. Well, thanks for bearing with us. I think this was a fantastic episode. I think there's so much more exciting stuff to come. We're going to continue to do these episodes at 8:00 at night. I think for now, at least, seems like a
as
reasonable
far
time.
as let me just say, like, as far as like a trio, like of all the possible trio configurations of Always Almost There,
The factorial
this might be my favorite.
computations. Yeah.
I think this might be my favorite. Yeah.
Yep.
This is the GOAT.
Yeah.
I think it's indisputably the GOAT.
So Neil, what do you think your two glows are going to be? That he who must not be named. What are the two glows he's going to give you, and what is the one grow he's going to give you?
I don't give a shit. Man, I don't know. He was texting me actually, like as we started this, and I was just like, "Dude, go to bed." So I think the
Poor
grow
guy. I think
is highlight more
Yeah.
chat, which normally I do actually, and then he kind of wrestles that away from me, so I just stopped doing it when we're recording. But yeah, so I mean, I think a lot of people agree. Like this is
fucking Vickers being ageist in the chat.
Vickers just
yeah,
no disregard for anybody's feelings.
Yeah.
So to Schwartz, this is a better, clearer saying of this that you can clip. Fuck you, Vickers. Full stop. So there we go. All right. I think that's a good time to wrap it up. Thank you, folks, for tuning in. Again, 8:00, the day of the show, as
Eastern
long as
time.
we have audio. 8:00 Eastern
Evening.
time.
Evening of / after show. Because it's after the show, but it's the evening of.
It is the evening of. And
I don't want people to think that they have to wait till the next day.
No, they don't. They don't. Usually, right?
But they can though, right? They can.
They can break it up into multiple parts if they want to. Yeah.
We don't want to take choice away from people, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, we don't.
We're going to do a part one. We were going to do a two-parter. Paris and Cologne, but
yeah,
we did
one. Well,
that's funny. We actually were going to do an episode last night, once a night. We actually were going to break it up into two parts.
Here we are. Well, you can make it a 4-part episode. You can stop at each set break. You can stop at each song if you wish.
That is your completely choice. Ignore it.
We will not gatekeep.
What I would do.
In any case, I'm not so good at the comments, but we'll get better at that as things go on.
I'm going to see if I can get access to comment.
Yeah, we'll work that out.
Put a help desk ticket in, and we'll see what we can do with permissioning.
Yeah, I got to get sign off. But I am really looking forward to Amsterdam. I think this. Hopefully, it's the three of us again.
Yeah, I sure hope so, because I could do this every day. I mean, we pretty much do, but like this is actually recorded, so that's great. All right, well, folks, I'm going to end it right here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Man, I can't wait for the next one of these. It's going to be fucking. All right, take care, folks.
Cheers, y'all.
Jam.